with the Texas Open Meetings Act, I hereby convene this meeting of the Planning and Public Policy Committee of the Board of Directors of the Lower Colorado River Authority. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026, and the time is 11 o'clock. A quorum is present, and the General Counsel will record each committee member who is in attendance. If everyone would stand now, we are going to have our Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
flag,
one nation,
States of
under
America,
indivisible,
stands,
under
alone,
Texas flag.
flag,
Pledge allegiance to
the Texas,
one state,
What?
under God, one and indivisible. Bobby, were you cutting up?
Yeah, Bobby.
We're going to have to give you a demerit. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm going to give, okay, this 1 minute.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Before we
Maybe
go,
1 second.
before we got, we've got a, I'm not sure what the hell he is, a visitor or employee yet, but anyway, I want Rudy to stand up and recognize it, and our new GM is here in the audience, and we. I just want you to know, I think y'all are, I think we all, we don't even know what, I don't remember the other guy's name was here before, but whatever. I think Rudy's going to step, I think Rudy's going to step into a great job. I think each and every one of y'all are going to get to know him as we did. We spent a lot of time, and, you know, we can't thank him enough for stepping up. There were some really, really, really fine candidates, and it took us a lot of work and a lot of effort, and it was not easy, but at the same time, Rudy, we're glad to have you on board, and I know he'll officially take over his role on July 20th, unless Jim, you may have to fight Jim. He loves it so much. He would stay on Jim, you know. Yeah. But I want to say welcome, number one. Everybody he's kind of shy like me, so just step up and visit with him. And Jim, again, we're going to thank you in a lot of different ways, but thank you again for stepping up when we needed you most, so appreciate it. Okay.
All right.
Here's my minute.
Okay, your minute's up. All right, I will now lead us in an invocation. Dear God, when so many things in the world seem to go wrong, your word says, let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and protector of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down on the right hand on the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinful men, so many that he did not even grow weary and lose heart. Lord, we just keep our eyes on you. There's many, many things going on in this world. Thank you for guiding this organization to such a good time as this. We look forward to a new chapter at LCRA. Give us your wisdom and guidance, and as we stay the course. Thank you for the rain. Help those in need. Be with us today as we face new challenges and opportunities for LCRA. We also ask, Lord, you be with all of our staff and employees and keep us all safe as we return home. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay.
amen.
Do we have any comments from the public today? Nobody signed up. Okay. Then we'll go to item number 2. The next item is to approve the minutes from our May 18th, 2026 and 2019 meetings. Second. Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed no. Okay, it passes. Now we're going to have a telecom update with Steve. Oh, and he's already right there. Hi.
Morning. Morning, board. So this morning what I wanted to do was to give an overview of the primary services that LCRA Telecom provides both to LCRA and to the Central Texas community. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to cover a little bit about the two primary services that Telecom provides. And I broke them up into two simple buckets. One is a wireless network service that we provide, and that includes a bunch of different services within there, and I'll cover those in a moment. And then our fiber optic broadband service. So it's how people get to the internet, how all that traffic travels through our fiber network. And then last, I'll finish today with an update on the two grants that we received from the Broadband Development Office, which is in the Comptroller's office. We received a $29.8 million grant to increase our internet service, essentially, to rural Texas to be able to provide additional middle mile services to those folks. And then we also, with the in conjunction with KPUB, received a $14 million grant to provide some early warning services in Kerr County. So I'm going to cover all of those things today. So to begin, how does LCRA Telecom support LCRA? Well, we have some of the major businesses here: transmission, generation, water, community services. One of the first things we do is we have wireless networks. So that would include things like our microwave service. We have a 700 megahertz band, which is a radio band where information is transmitted through radio waves on a 700 megahertz frequency. We have a 900 megahertz band. That's also our existing narrowband frequency. That is our radio systems. It's the core that processes all that information. It's the tower sites that you might see. It's the receivers that you would see on the roof of this building that we use. All of that stuff, and it also includes licenses from the Federal Communications Commission that allows us to be able to do all of that traffic. And ultimately what we're doing is that existing 900 service that we have today, and I'm going to have some maps that show what that looks like. We are transitioning that over to our private LTE service. And you've heard us talk a lot about that as LCRA has decided to make an investment in that future service going forward. So I'm going to hit some of that. That's the wireless side. And so it does, on the wireless side, just for an example, we had all the rain that came through, and internally, we've had briefings in the morning and the afternoons about our hydromet system and the operations of the river and what's going on. If you ever log into the hydromet system and you see the data gauges that are showing you the stream flows and the rain that's coming in, all that information is actually transmitted through our wireless system. There's a data device collecting that information, and it pings off to a tower, and the tower then runs into our core through our wires, and then that core then sends the information to our computers so we can look and see what's happening on the river. So that's the backbone of why this is so critical for LCRA and for all of the different businesses. So that's just one example. And so part of that is the fiber optic broadband. We have 2,800 miles of fiber optic cable that's laid throughout the state, and I'll show you a map of where that is. And we work in conjunction with transmission services to be able to expand that. As they build lines or they upgrade lines, we make sure that we have fiber optic cable running along those transmission lines to be able to provide that service to ourselves and then also to others. So let me talk a little bit about what does that look like. First off, we have mission critical push to talk. So we have radios. So when nothing else works, when you can't talk via a phone or an email or anything else, our folks rely on this radio, just like this, that is one of our 900 megahertz radios. Radio check, how do I read?
Any chance we can get those? And can we dial into DPX?
Yeah. Just checking my signal, how do I read?
Read loud and clear.
Thank you. So it's just,
Walk around and say, can you hear me now?
yeah, you can do that, absolutely. They get freaked out when I use the radio because it's like, wait a minute, that's not
Yeah,
one of
we
our
should
normal
all do-
radio guys.
It was really good this morning.
Yeah, it was highly entertaining this morning when they, did he really just use his radio? So that's an example. So then also you see the other three boxes. There are other things that we use. We use our SCADA system, which is a supervisory control and data acquisition. So we have lots of machines and pumps and just equipment that's out in the field. In order for us to understand and monitor what's going on, those things have little chips in them and they send a signal out, and then that allows us at our control centers to understand exactly what's going on. We're looking, smart meters. We're seeing this with a lot of our external customers. They want to be able to, the days of going out and reading a meter, having an old meter reader go out and read things, those are gone. Everyone's installing chips in those meters, and so a signal can be sent out, and they can control that. But then beyond that, you can if customers sign up, they can control thermostats. So you may have a group of customers who get together and say, we want to sign up for a program that would allow for automated, controls of certain areas to change thermostat usage if it's needed and saves customers money. So there's a lot of different things that are available to our customers. And then mobile data, telematics, fleet management. All of our vehicles have a GPS chip in them, so we know where they are at any given point in time. So, one of the things that we find that we use sometimes is if they get stolen, right? We then go recover the vehicle because we know exactly, we just pull it up on a screen and watch wherever they're driving so we can go and get them. And then lastly, we also, it's not on here, but our enterprise network. So everything the internet is so pervasive, and I'm kind of using it as a loose term, the internet, because there's so many things that are flowing in and around us. Even the environmental controls of all of our buildings are actually being monitored by somebody on a computer, and everything in this building and all the buildings here are all zoned off. And so they can monitor the equipment to see if there's maintenance that needs to be done. And then, of course, they can just change the temperature. If I call one of the facilities guys and says, it's really hot in here, I need you to turn it down, he'll just pops open his laptop and he can pick this zone and cool it down and not worry about the rest of the building. So all that stuff is where we're at, and it's all controlled by this network of telecommunications sort of behind the scenes. So a map. This is our 700 megahertz system. So this band is dedicated to law enforcement, fire, emergency services. It includes our public safety as well. So when you hear about folks out in the field, whether it's a county fire department or EMS, that they're working on the LCRA system, that is this system. We have 162 external customers and more than 10,000 radios that are in use by those customers and those folks. And it's across the 23 counties that you see lit up here. In addition to that, and we've talked about interoperability across the state and between communities, and if you think of like all the communities around the borders of what this map has, events don't stay stationary. When a hurricane comes in, it doesn't just hit this area, it hits all sorts of different counties. So it's important that all the counties can talk to one another. So we have an additional almost 24,000 radios that are linked into our system. They can roam into our system, they can talk to our folks, and vice versa. Because when those emergencies occur, all those entities and agencies need to be able to talk to one another. So we've worked with all them to make sure that all you got to do is change the dial so that you're on a different talk group and that you can talk to them to make it that simple. I'll pause there and see if there's any questions so far.
The demand is continuing to grow, or everybody's trying to get we are hopefully achieving what we wanted, and everybody gets on the same system, more or less, that as far as it pertains.
They won't
to
be on the
EMS.
same system. People will have their own systems.
I understand,
We
but-
continue to work with the state
Right.
and these entities to try to get that interop message out there. We're not there yet. It's
Right.
going to take some time.
Well, I know it's going to take some time, but I mean, like last year's disaster, that was part of the problem. Everybody
Yeah,
had their
we're
own
seeing
radio
progress. People are
receiver.
understanding that.
Nobody can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
So I hope that we can continue to be a leader and get that accomplished.
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Hey, Steve, I have a question. How many entities are there in Texas that do what we do in regards to this,
That do exactly what we do?
or very similar, that provide emergency communications like this and radio?
There are probably a dozen, maybe 24 regional systems that are as large as ours that we work together to tie these together. So we have an agreement with Houston that we're tied through to the Houston network. We go through San Antonio as well and all the way down to Corpus. So there's about a dozen large regional systems, is what we call them, that do this.
Are they all intertwined together, or they're fragmented?
They're fragmented.
Okay.
But that's where this interoperability comes in.
Right,
And we,
okay.
after Hurricane Harvey, we started working with all those groups along the hurricane evacuation corridor to be able to stitch together. You keep your own system, but we're able to stitch together through creating channels, essentially. It's roaming, if you will, so that the different entities can talk to each other during an emergency event.
Is Motorola still a big competitor there in a lot of these?
They're a provider of radios, and so the two main providers, and there are more somewhat growing, but Motorola is probably the largest one in the country, and then L3 Harris is the next one. And we use most of our products, like this one is an L3 Harris product. We do have Motorola radios. We're indifferent when it comes to our customers. If they want a Motorola radio, we're happy to provide that to them. So from our standpoint, they're a vendor for most of what we use. But
Well, since
are still the
Abbott County
biggest.
went with them, they're having a lot of trouble. So, and yeah, and would have connected right there to Brown County if maybe.
yeah, we talk to folks a lot about updating systems or changing systems or connecting them in and whatever's going to work best for them.
Yeah, maybe we can get back on it.
So that's our 700 megahertz system. As I mentioned, we also have a 900 megahertz system. And so that covers more than 50 counties. And so this is the map of that coverage of where that is, the dots being where basically essentially the towers are. So this serves our public safety as well as our operations. So that's what this radio is. When I talk to them, they're using that, or a lot of the radios are in our transmission system, and those guys are using that when they're out in the field on these radios. There's about 6,600 of these radios that are out in service, and then another 425 data devices that are pinging, like those hydromet systems that are being used. I'll pause here for a moment just to talk about, going back quite a few years ago in the 2017 timeframe, the FCC reached out to us and said, you're good with this footprint, but you can't have anything beyond that, beyond these counties. You can continue to add radios in this footprint, but that's it. You're capped out. And so that was a problem for us as we continue to grow. With all the growth that we're seeing, both on the transmission side, as we build new power plants and whatever the work that we're doing, that really wasn't going to work for us. And so we started to analyze what would be sort of the next generation for our 900 megahertz radio system. And so we took a couple of years to analyze different options and what would be available, and decided in the 2021, 2022 timeframe that we were going to move to this LTE system. And so we began in 2023, we started negotiating to buy, you need to buy the spectrum, the radio waves, to be able to use that system. And so we made that purchase and started purchasing that from a company called Anterix back in 2024. And that was something you all approved. And so that kind of gets us to where our future state will be. And so I think you all have seen this map. This is the 102 counties where we will have our 900 megahertz PLTE spectrum radio system. So it allows, it really steps up beyond. It's really going from sort of the old dial-up system to real broadband. So the old system works great for radios for this, but the data that goes through is very limited because there's just not a lot of bandwidth for you to be able to push that stuff through. This is truly a broadband spectrum. So the radio wave frequency they gave us is a much wider area of the spectrum. So you can do video as well as data, as well as the voice. So that's why it's so appealing to us, because it's really where we need to go into the future. So we purchased the first 68 counties. That's the shaded area of the northern part of this map. That was initially what we did, and we've been focusing, and I'm going to show you a map as to what we have online here in a moment. But we focused on the I-35 corridor to get that up and running first, and then we're going to spread east and west to build the system out. And building it means putting the towers and the receivers so that it all actually works. And we had an opportunity last year to expand it and buy the remaining 34 counties that you see in the south. So we did that. That's the southern shaded area. We will build up the phase one, those first 68 here through 2029. And then starting in 2030, we'll then shift our focus to those southern counties to be able to provide coverage and service in those particular areas. I'll show you, there's a little donut there in the middle. That's Bear County. This guy from CPS, he reached out and he managed to swoop in and buy that. But no, we had actually did a lot of work with CPS. They've been a great partner. Yeah. So CPS bought that. Yeah. They've been a great partner. We've been working with them because they're not just in Bear County, but that is a big concentrated area for them. So it made sense for them to purchase and own that spectrum in that area. But we'll be working with them in interoperability. Again, it's a key component. They'll roam into our system. Obviously, you can see that they're kind of an island, and they have assets that are beyond just Bear County, and we have stuff in their county as well. So we'll have a lot of roaming and interoperability work that we will do with them. And it's not just with them. As you go to the north, Encore bought 95 counties. So they're to the north of us. In the east, you have XL Energy that's up in the Panhandle. and TNMP has bought in a couple of counties as well. So in order to really make it work along the edges, we have to have interoperability. And we meet 2 to 3 times a year to talk about how they're building their system, what those linkages are going to be, and how we'll be able to make that work in the future. So interoperability in the future is really going to be made a lot easier through this PLTE system because more people will be on a similar system. Oh, I did, before I leave, well, I can do it on here too. So this is the map. This is currently what we have online. We have 56 sites built. Those are the green dots. 52 of them are on air, meaning they are in use. In fact, show you here, and we'll see how this should work. Is it on? Testing radio, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Test 1, 2, 3. You're just muting me out here. So if you get them too close together, they'll mute each other out, so you don't get the ring back. So
Turn that one off.
there you go.
All right. So pull an audible here. And y'all can... Share them around. Pass them all around. So those in particular. That's my design. The radio that Curtis that you're holding, it will be it's sort of that's the replacement of this. So that'll be the LTE radio. It's what a lot of operational folks will use out in the field because they want that kind of a feel for a radio. So they're going to use this kind of radio, or even law enforcement as they move over to LTE. They're going to use this kind of radio. But there's a lot of folks that we're going to have, including like myself, or maybe you all eventually at some point. You're more used to a cell phone. And so we've got the technology that is going to look more like a cell phone. You can push a button on the side. It'll operate like a radio. There's a button in the front you can use. There's apps that you can add to it. You'll be able to look at your email if you wanted to, or text messaging. So it's a device that's able to do a lot of different things, and it works out in the field. So it'll ultimately work in all those 102 counties when we're out there to be able to do stuff. The nice thing about this is it can do things like when we have folks go out to our substations. Today, if we have an engineer that's going out to a substation, they're bringing their drawings with them, the engineering drawings, so that they can unroll them in the truck and look at what they're about to do before they go in there. This system allows them to just take an iPad with them, and they can just look at the drawings on the iPad. And if they need to stop by another substation and they didn't bring those drawings with them, no big deal. They'll be able to just look at it on the iPad and be able to pull those things up very quickly. No, you use them all together. It wouldn't replace it. Everybody would have the device that they need for their particular function.
Which button do we push to get in touch with GPS?
I didn't put the group in.
Yeah, we limited these just in case. We know our audience. And just to highlight, we have, the system's up and running, and so we are continuing to build it. We will build the total build out of phase 1 is 215 sites. So we have the 56 that are built so far. We're going to 215. We're averaging about 60-ish, 60, 70 a year to get it completely built. Phase 2 will have about 37 sites to build out that southern area. But we have customers on board already because as we fill this in, this green shading, that's where the coverage is, we're using it. So one of our first customers was internal. It was our Hydromet customer. And we took this data device to one of the rain gauges. We were able to connect it to a couple of antennas right there at the rain gauge, and it now is sending information over our LTE system to what you see on the screen when you're looking at it. So it's live, it's here, it's real time. These are the kind of devices that we'll be working with our customers and ourselves internally just to be able to transmit data to the LTE system. And then our next big customer that we were excited about is Cap Metro. So all the buses that you see, we delivered 600, 800?
700.
700 radios to them this week and next. They're driving around testing those on the system with these new radios in their buses. And so they are retooling all of their buses, their depot stations to have the LTE system, and they'll be live and operating on this. And it doesn't stop there. UGRA, we just signed with them. to be able to operate the 6 of the sirens that they've now installed. They're going to be operating on our LTE system. And then we have a few water customers like Liberty Hill, Elgin, and Pflugerville in order to monitor their water system, their potable water system. They'll be installing these in their SCADA systems. So it's growing, it's starting to take off. We're here, we're live, there's actual customers, and we're excited about that. So, in your hand and on the screen, I've talked about, these are some of the devices that we're talking about. And these are interchangeable. I put them in some columns as to who might use what, but you're going to have SCADA systems that we're going to be using. There's quite a bit of overlap. You will have traffic control devices if people want those. There's technology for gunshot detection. A lot of it is for good operations and maintenance. As you put these chips, one of the things that we've seen that's really helpful is we have them on a lot of our generators, small G generators, backup generators at either our towers or different facilities, and we can monitor the health of that generator. I mean, it's nothing worse than when the power goes out and the generator doesn't kick on. It's a rough day. Well, we can monitor those, exactly what the health of those are, how they're working. Same thing with battery backup systems. We can see exactly what they're doing. It helps us know when to send techs out to do preventative maintenance work on them, because we can monitor them all there instead of sending people out regularly. It's just much more efficient to be able to do that kind of stuff. So we're excited about the different types of things that we'll be able to offer folks. And so I threw this in. This is kind of a little bit of like in the weeds, but I thought it might be helpful to kind of explain how does it really work. And so on the left-hand side, those are the data devices. It's the thing that you're passing around, or the radio. It's any of those devices. And when you activate it, when you key it, it sends that signal through the 900 megahertz radio channel to one of our towers. And so our tower is going to capture that as a receiver on the tower. It captures that. That receiver is connected to a wire. It's a cable. It's our fiber optic cable. And it's going to drop that to the ground and run through our transmission system or through wherever our wire, the 2,800 miles of wires, going to run all the way back to our core. And that core is the brain. It then knows, it's like the switching station. It knows this radio signal needs to go there, or this data device needs to go there. And so it'll send that traffic to wherever it needs to go. It's essentially the data's destination, so people can use the data as they need it. And then the reverse is true. If the data destination needs to send a signal back out to a radio or to a data device, it's going to go right back through that system exactly the way you see it. One thing I'll point out here with this map, because you'll see in the middle we have something like, it's called our geo-redundant LTE core. Reliability and redundancy is really important to us. If you were in the risk audit meeting earlier this morning, we talked about critical infrastructure and what it's like to make sure we identify what critical things are, and the risk. We take a risk-based approach. For us, that's very critical. When nothing else works, this stuff is supposed to work, so we're able to communicate with each other. And so we spend a lot of time thinking about that. And so we have geo-redundant cores. All it just means we have geographically dispersed cores. One is in San Antonio and one's here, or on the other side of town at the service center. So if something happens at the service center, the traffic can go through the other core that's in San Antonio. Same thing with the towers. We have towers that are able to cross-cover each other. So the coverage just isn't exclusively for this one area. We try to have overlapping coverage from different towers, so if one tower goes down, another tower can help out. But even then, at those individual towers, we have backups with the common carriers. So we use cellular as a backup in case something happens with us. And then even on top of that, with some of them, we have satellite backup. So we're always thinking about if something goes wrong, what's the backup? And then lastly, with our fiber network, those 2,800 miles, and you'll see a map of it here next. Well, I'll show you. The map, it looks like spaghetti, and it's on purpose, because if one of those lines gets severed, we want to be able to reroute the traffic through another route to be able to get it to its final destination. So we spend a lot of time thinking about reliability and redundancy, and it's also part of this fiber network. And so here, this is the fiber map. This is the 2,800 miles of fiber. We think about it in terms of rings and provide service here. So not only is it transmitting, or we call it the transport network, you may hear that at times, because it's transporting all of that wireless data to its final destination. But it also is, it's our access to the internet and to the internet service. And for rural broadband, this is sort of the meat and potatoes of that rural broadband. So we have today 26 fiber customers, and we provide them, gigabytes of data to be able to transmit that information. In fact, in Lampasas, we just signed, Nancy, as you're aware, we have the Lampasas ISD. We worked with them to get them some grant money so that they were able to wire up one of their schools that was off in no man's land. It had no wireless service at all, no internet service. So we were able to work through, what's the name of that program, the federal program?
E-rate.
E-rate, the E-rate program. So we're able to get some money through them to be able to wire that system up. So that's a lot of the work that we're doing. Just in terms of summarizing kind of what we're providing before I get into the 2 BDO grants. Right now, we're going to be covering 128,000 square miles. That's the 102 counties that you saw on that map. I've mentioned the 2,800 miles of fiber. We have 200 plus customers that are on our various systems. There's about 7 million people that are covered in those 102 counties that we're providing various levels of service to. We have over 40,000 of these kind of radios out in service, and that's a 4-fold increase in the last 10 years. So we're out there and we're really making strides to be able to provide this service. First and foremost, LCRA, because it's what we need for our critical infrastructure, but then also because we are community service. And so we want to go out there to similar entities and be able to provide this to them that they wouldn't be able to do this on their own. So we're able to help them and provide that service to them. Pause there before I go into the grants.
Yeah.
Are there future plans to tie that back in to loop it somehow?
Yes, eventually, as we continue to build our other systems, absolutely yes.
Currently, we have an agreement with Encore that we bring it back around. So it is there today. Yes, Encore controls part of it as well as Garland. So we have some agreements to get LCRA's data on a ring out there. And that will continue to expand as we continue to build up.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what Steve said. What we're doing is for LCRA, for our infrastructure, for our requirements, everything we need, particularly on the transmission side as we expand. Anything we can leverage that for those communities is kind of gravy. It's good for the community, it's good for LCRA, but everything we're doing, we're building, we're working the plan that we put in place a couple of years ago, and so we're moving that forward. And it's showing good results, not only for our organization, but for the community. So again, this is for LCRA primary.
Steve, what's some of the biggest challenges that we have as you execute on this rollout with more towers, more fiber, more communication equipment? I'm just kind of curious some of the biggest challenges you have in the execution of it.
The biggest, it is, if you're building towers, it's permitting, land acquisition, leases, what those really look like. That takes a lot of time and effort. I've kept Mark Summerall really busy through this, and it continues to grow. But those are the biggest challenges. Equipment lead times change very greatly. So just trying to keep a schedule on that. That's the largest ones.
The governmental entities that provide the entitlements, do they work with us, or is they're challenging on that a lot of times? I'm just kind of curious.
It just depends on where you're at.
Yeah, I'll add that for Director Mayo, that line that you see out there, one of the things that's in the BDO grant is money for curing of easements. And we need to cure those easements to allow us to carry third-party traffic along those lines. And that's one stretch that's going out through Kimball, Schleicher, and up to Tom Green, is curing a lot of the easements that are there. And so that's the challenge, is working with those private landowners to be able to, there's no new infrastructure. It's literally just tidying up the easement language to allow us to carry that particular third-party traffic along there. So it's working through that process. Can be a challenge, but like Mark's team is fantastic at it.
Not that we would want to, but can we use our eminent domain powers to build out this as well?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
In fact, you may be seeing here in August or September, we'll be teeing those up to have them in our back pocket if needed. I think in most cases they're not needed, but we'll be bringing that exact item to you here in the next meeting or two.
I think the work that y'all are doing goes hand in hand with just like our grants, you know, going out and serving the rural communities and providing a mechanism for early warning, for communications that they can't get today. So I think we're fulfilling our mission serving Texas.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So speaking of that, the BDO grant we received earlier this year, $28.6 million to go out and provide additional network access infrastructure so that people could connect into the internet, build additional tower sites so that we can have additional coverage out in that area, and extend some of our fiber to close some of the gaps that are out there, so some of the easements that we're working on. The shaded counties in the map are the counties that we are working in to do exactly that. We are really about to, we've kicked off in that we have done all of the designing and the planning work that's needed to start construction. We have ordered all the equipment that's needed, so all that is ready to come in, and July 1, we're off and running to go and build all the towers and the connections and everything that we need. We've started already. There's about 85 vaults that we will be installing, and we've got about 32 of those that are done already. And what a vault is an external customer will come to where our fiber is located, and often it could be at a substation or wherever we have a connection point. And we build a little vault that allows them access to come in and just plug in right then and there. So they're staying out and away from any of our critical stuff, but they're able to, it's basically an outlet, right? So they're able to just plug in, and then they'll have access to their internet. So we've built 32 out of the 85 that are needed, but we'll be building 23 more towers and probably 6 different shelters, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and that everything's ready. Like the starting gun is like going off here for July 1 for us to start with that. And then on the easement side, I think we've mentioned we'll probably need 500 to 550 easements to be cured. We have 58 to 60 of them already done. They're signed, they're complete. We have another 120. They're in active negotiation, so people they're willing and they're talking with us, and we're trying to finalize that. And the rest are just in flight. So we are working through that process to be able to cure all those, to be able to provide this service. That's that grant. Next grant is Kerr County. This grant was actually provided to KPUB. We worked with them as a sub-grantee, so the total grant is $14.7 million. We're going to see $13.3 million of that. We are putting in 10 new private LTE sites, as well as some fiber. So we're going to have some leases for some fiber to be able to build what that looks like. Sort of overall, we're not working alone in this at all. We've worked a lot with KPUB because they are also putting in some fiber. They're going to be stringing some fiber to be able to do this stuff. We've been working heavily with UGRA on installation of the sirens so that they connect and work with our system, working with the county so they understand how all this stuff works. So it's been a great partnership in putting all of this together. Of course, it jumped on me. Okay, so what does it look like? This is the map. This will be the end product of what we're looking at in terms of Kerr County. And so to be able to highlight what we have is you see these yellow dots. These are the tower sites that we are going to have that are funded by the actual grant, by the 13+ million that LCRA is going to get through KPUB. So we're actively putting some of those out. And then the blue dots that you see here spread out were towers that we already had in our LTE expansion program. So in the 102 county program that we were doing, we already had some stuff. So this was a good overlap and a good complement because we were already doing some stuff out there, and the grant allowed us to really provide additional coverage where it's most needed. And where it's most needed is the two forks of the rivers here where the campsites happen to be. Now the lines are where our fiber is. So the dark blue line is all of our fiber, and so that's out there and exists today. And we are working with others to be able to add fiber. So you can see a bunch of fiber rings, everything's multi-connected. We are either going to have long-term leases with folks, or KPUB is going to be putting in some of the fiber. As of this week, get to my notes here. As of this week, 5 tower sites are installed. 2 are from the LTE project, and so that is going to be the Hunt substation, which is right there in the center. That's online and has coverage and is working right now, as well as Kerrville, which is this site here. Those are the 2, like I said, we were already planning on building. Those are up and running and actively providing coverage in the area. Then there are 3 more that we've used the grant dollars to build, And those are Mullins Creek, which is this one right down here. It's not labeled, but that's why I'm using this thing. So Mullins Creek is up and running. Cypress Creek, which is out here, is up and running. And then Camp Verde, which is this one labeled down here, is up and running. And so we have coverage in those areas, and then by the end, it's supposed to be by the end of this week, but the rain that came through here over the weekend, haven't checked with Jason if the crew's out there finishing up today or not, but if it's not the
They're
end of
working this weekend.
Good. We'll have 2 more sites that are going to be up and running, and those 2 sites are Carson and Turtle Creek. And Carson is right here, and Turtle Creek is over on the right here. So I know I pointed a bunch of them out, but essentially by the end of the week, and we'll have one more at the end of the month. Taylor Ranch, which is the one way out here, will be done at the end of the month. So what will happen is the coverage area is basically going to be in this area that I'm circling here. That's what we'll have online by the end of the month. And UGRA has put in 6 sirens already. And those sirens are basically focused on these 2 forks of the river right here, is where they have put those in. You can see on the map that we have the proposed, all those green diamonds are where they're looking at. They're going to be putting in a bunch more. But the first 6 that they've put in, they have structured along, to the west of Hunt on both sides, both forks of that river. So I can do one more audible. I know. Well, Phil's not here anymore, so I can, but the new guy's probably going to give me a grade on how I handle this stuff. But.
Very perceptive.
These are what the sirens look like. So if you ever wanted to see what an actual siren actually looked like when they're notifying, they're a monopole. They stand about 30 feet in the air.
30 to 50.
30, 50 feet in the air. They are loud. They have been tested. They've notified the community. The community, got to hear exactly what they sounded like. They connected through our LTE system, so all of that stuff works. So we've been working with that community to make sure all of this stuff is up and running by the end of the month. And then we won't be done. It'll take us through the end of the calendar year to really build out and achieve what you see on this map. But we really did focus on the areas that needed it first, where most of the camps are, where the tragedy took place, to make sure that there's coverage and there's sirens and everything is going to work there as intended. So with that, that's what I have for today. Just a couple of key takeaways is just what we are. We're wireless and fiber services. As Jim mentioned, and we've kind of emphasized, it's built for LCRA, and we share that with the community because that's who we are. We're really doing a lot of work to support the BDO, what their mission is to be able to provide access to fiber in the rural communities and support early warning systems. I think Kerr County is great. We've had other counties reach out to us. When we get done with Kerr, we're going to be happy to work with other counties to be able to install something similar. So happy to take any questions.
I just want to say how, I'm going to try to say how grateful I am for the leadership that LCRA has taken on in this area. I'm dropping my kids off at camp on Sunday, and as you can imagine, that was a difficult decision this summer. Came with a little more baggage than previous years. But I have been following along on the progress, and I'm really grateful to see how far it has come, and I'm very proud to be part of LCRA and just the work that you guys have done to be leaders in this area. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know Steve and Jason and the rest of the organization that helped support that has made that a high priority to get as much as we could get done for the summer season. And so I think they've taken some great steps. They've worked with the other entities to kind of help move them along as well to get things happening. And so taking a real strong leadership role on that. So.
And I know a lot of the private landowners have done some work of their own to put in some warning systems, but those are great. But it's not a substitute for a full river system. So this is really important.
Steve, does a person have to initiate the siren, or is it automatic based on the hydromet information, or what?
So today, in the initial stages that has to be initiated from the emergency management, sheriff's department and that. In the future, the gauges will be done, but it takes a while to get the gauges. They just can't go put them in quickly. So that's phase 2 of it.
Thanks. And our
That
Yes,
will be
tied
tied
into
in
our
through
system.
the LTE network, yes.
Great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I like the headdress Bobby is.
looks like that bobcat sitting on his head.
Okay, so we can just be adjourned. Okay. Oh, okay, to return to open. Bobby. Okay, we have concluded the executive session?
We didn't have one.
I know.
We just need to go. We're done.
Okay,
We're done.
are there any other items to come for the committee today? No, if not, hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 11:46.